Hello and welcome to another video which is going to get you the top grades. We are looking at the exam paper from June 2018. In this video I am going to show you the 7 secrets of success. Here they are. We don't need to read through them now, although you can pause the video and do so. Let's get in and start earning some marks, so that you can see me do a real question 2 in real time. Let's zoom in on the question itself. You will always be asked, how does the writer use language to convey something or other? And you know that if it's about language, you must quote. Here we're looking at Mr. Fisher's views, so I'm always going to highlight what it is that I need to write about so that I don't forget it. What views do I have to write about? The views about books and stories of the past. So I'm going to make sure that's in my answer. These parts are always the same, no matter what the question. The word could is a bit cheeky. It means must for the first 2 bullet points, and it does mean could for the third. If I go through these, words and phrases, well, obviously that's quotations. You've been doing it probably since you were in year 4. This should be easy for you because you practiced it for years. Language features and techniques, well, that just means that I'm going to name anything that I spot. The examiners don't have a list of things that you must spot, but there are some obvious ones which come up all the time. But never mind that, I'm certain that we will find many more than we need in whatever extract they give us. Because this is question 2 in the exam, and believe it or not, the examiners want you to get high marks, so they're not giving you a piece of text which will be hard. And then finally, the third bullet point is sentence forms. Now, this is no longer compulsory. Examiners realised that students were writing things that really didn't make any sense. I, however, know that pretty much every exam paper will have a list in it, which will be a complex sentence, so I know I can always write about that, and I'll do that here. Okay, but if there isn't a list, I'm not going to sweat about it in the exam. I'll just ignore the sentence forms question. Okay, there are 8 marks, which means I have a maximum of 12 minutes. That's calculated with the system I train my students on. Just get started in the exam. Don't read all the sources first. If you are reading all the sources first, then you probably only have 10 minutes. Now we know the tactics. Let's see what it looks like in a real exam answer. First, I'm going to copy and paste this into Word so that you can see it all on one page. I was originally going to handwrite this, but my handwriting is terrible, and that will also get in the way of showing you how ideas flow. So I'm going to use the dictation app, which, by the way, is a brilliant way for you to do your exam practices because it will just speed up your thinking while you practice the skills. Let me show you and convince you. Okay, I deliberately haven't read the rest of this text and I haven't read the mark scheme, so I'm approaching this cold. The reason I want to do that is I desperately want to show you that the extract you're given will be overloaded with things to write about, and you've just got to trust yourself to make points. I probably only need 3 paragraphs, but I'm going to be able to write a lot more because I'm dictating. My 3 paragraphs will involve something about the beginning, then something that I notice from the middle, and something that I notice from the end. The simple reason for that is I've then shown the examiner I've dealt with the whole of the text. Right, let's zoom in. So, surely, not so long ago, there must be something I can write about that. And when books were golden. Well, something comes to my mind straight away about that. That's where I'll start. I will dictate my punctuation, but not the quotation marks, because that will make it much too boring for you to listen to. I'll put that in later. We can see that Mr. Fisher remembered a time because he is nostalgic for the past, where books were golden, full stop. This adjective golden is both a sign of how precious books were, comma, but also how radiant and vibrant they were to his imagination. Right, well, I have plenty of time, so I'm going to go back and look at the next bit. When imagination soared. Well, the word soared leaps out at me. It's like a bird of prey, isn't it? And when the world was filled with stories which ran like gazelles and pounced like tigers and exploded like rockets. Oh, we got loads of similes. I can write about that. The adverb surely indicates how desperate he is to go back to that time not so long ago when books were vibrant. Full stop. This implies that he feels that in the present books are no longer valued. Full stop. He values books because of the effect on the imagination, comma, which soared. Full stop. This metaphor is plural, suggesting that all his students were fully engaged by the books they read in the past. Full stop. Right. I found quite a bit to write about before I've even got to the similes, so we're going to the similes next. He also imagines a world filled with books. Full stop. This implies that the world was a better place when it was filled with stories. Full stop. This metaphor is quickly followed by two similes, comma, so that the stories ran like gazelles and pounced like tigers. Full stop. This natural imagery suggests that he believes books are a natural part of our existence and should be celebrated. Full stop. The contrast between gazelles and tigers implies that books are like an ecosystem, comma, of contrasting life forms, comma, which have to be enjoyed as a whole. Full stop. It also reminds us that these animals are becoming endangered, comma, just like the books from Mr. Fisher's past. Full stop. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's have a look at the next simile. Exploded like rockets. Well, I can definitely write something about that. Illuminating minds and hearts. Definitely write something about that. Now, I'm keeping my eye on the time because I need to write about the ending. Well, tactically, all I'll do is just keep writing about stuff. And then, when I've got 2 minutes left, I'll write about the ending. So I'll make sure that I've always got that full answer. We can sense his excitement in the next simile, which describes stories as exploding like rockets. Full stop. This excitement also includes the sense of a future being created, comma, a better future, just as it was for mankind in the exploration of space. Full stop. His choice of the verb illuminating in the metaphor also reminds us of a rocket in space shining a light through darkness. Full stop. It suggests that he believes books will lift the darkness from our minds and hearts. Full stop. Right, my next bit. He had seen it happen. Can't think anything to write about that. Had seen whole classes swept away in the fever. Oh, yeah, okay, that's an interesting metaphor. In those days, there were heroes, there were dragons and dinosaurs. The list that I predicted. Well, I'm always excited to write about a list, and that's also sentence form, so that will be pretty good to write about. Okay, let's get some ideas down. He looks back to memories, comma, perhaps of his childhood, comma, which was filled with heroes, dragons, dinosaurs, adventurers, soldiers of fortune, and giant apes. Full stop. The effect of this list is to show the enormous range of excitement and genre that books and stories from the past provided. Full stop. These all feel like very male stories, which would appeal especially to boys. Full stop. We can imagine that his classroom is also filled with boys, comma, and that currently his boys are no longer interested in such stories. Full stop. Okay, I ought to be able to say something about the power of this list as well, with so many ideas in it. And yes, the giant apes, that's obviously the King Kong kind of image, which links to this idea of dreaming in colour, though films were in black and white. Right, I'll have to write something about that then. The power of this list is not just in expressing how marvellous stories from the past were, comma, but linking this to the power of film, which was in black and white, full stop. This contrast suggests that in his childhood, films were not as powerful as books, where we dreamed in colour, full stop. This implies that in the modern day, films are now in colour, which has stopped his students using the colour of their dreams and imagination when reading stories. Full stop. New paragraph. He emphasises that books in the past were a communal experience because we dreamed. Full stop. But this is very much in the past tense, comma, suggesting that readers now are never transported as they once were even. Let's correct that. Right, I'm nearly there. I've just got to write about that end here. Well, before I finish my answer, I have to double check that I've answered the question fully. I've written about his views about books and stories from the past. I've got a bit carried away talking about his students, but not too bad. That's all relevant to his view about stories from the past. I'm writing about the present, but I'm contrasting that to the past, so I'm going to get the marks. I'm okay. Mr. Fisher ends by remembering that good always triumphed in the end. Full stop. The use of contrast makes us believe he does not believe the present works in the same way, comma, and the goodness of books can no longer triumph in the present as it once did so wonderfully during the golden period of the past. Full stop. Okay, I am done. Now, obviously, I would struggle to write quite that much in 12 minutes in the exam. Personally, I could do it because I have messy handwriting. But remember, you don't have to write that much. You only really need 3 good paragraphs. I believe you can write more, which is why I want you to use the dictation app. Give it a go and let me know what you think in the comments. There are 3 key skills that I keep using throughout. Number 1, embedded quotations, which you know, I hope, are quotations that make sense within your sentence, so you try to keep them short. The second technique is the explanation, and that always gets signalled to the examiner with words like this implies or this suggests. Every time I explain, I'm getting marks, and that happens 100% of the time. And then the third thing is whatever the technique is, I try to name it. Remember, if I didn't know that that was a metaphor, I would just call it imagery and I'd still gain the marks. If we zoom in on the rest of that paragraph, you'll see in green the techniques that I've named. You'll see in this light green how I've continued using suggests or implies, and you'll see in yellow how I've continued to embed quotations. And that pattern is repeated in every single paragraph. Now, because these are the only 3 skills that I keep having to show the examiner, I know that I'm going to make the grade because I'm just going to keep writing paragraphs that demonstrate those skills. Now, for some of you, it'll be 3 paragraphs, something from the beginning, the middle, and the end, and others of you will be able to write more. If you've got time, write more. If you haven't, 3 paragraphs will do. If you have made it this far, you are obviously destined for brilliant success, and you should therefore consider subscribing and getting more of my videos when you need them as I make them. Hope you like the new style of editing. If you don't, I'm just wasting my time away and I could be gardening or sunbathing or feeding my dog. Maybe it's better to do videos. See you soon on my channel. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.